Hey guys, welcome to the Drum Cave. It's Mr. Rip, and we need to talk about your practice space. Now parents, don't go anywhere because we need your help with this too. We want our practice space to be set up for success. And if we're missing items or if we don't have things in there at all times, then it's going to prevent us from getting a good session in, and we're going to want to quit the instrument. So today we're going to talk about 8 things that I think you should have in your practice space so you can get the most out of your session and just get back to loving playing some music. Let's jump in. All right, number 1 that you need in your space, sounds obvious, it's your instrument. Now, us drummers, we need a drum set. And sometimes when we're starting out playing drums, we might not have a full drum set yet, and that's okay. I didn't have a drum set for 3 years when I started playing, but I had sticks, I had a practice pad, I had pillows. If I needed to practice drum set stuff, I would play the hi-hat patterns on my chest, play the snare drum on my leg, and I'd stomp on the floor for the bass drum. Okay? So in the beginning, it's okay not to have the full gear. You could still practice the independence and the coordination required to play some drum set beats. However, having the instrument makes you inspired to practice. So when you're starting off, it's okay not to have one right away. See if you like it. But if you want to really get motivated, having a proper instrument is going to help. Now, let's talk about care. You don't have to have the best drum set in the world, but you do need to know how to take care of your instrument. You need to learn how to tune it. You need to learn how to do little maintenance on it. There's a lot of moving parts to a drum set. The bass drum pedal has got chains and springs and little bolts. Those are going to come loose when you play on it over time. So you have to learn how to adjust it, take care of it, and then fix it when it breaks. More often, it won't break. It'll just come loose, and you have to put the spring on. So just take some time and figure out how the mechanics of your instrument works. You can't really break it unless you're forcing it beyond where it wants to go, or you're over tightening it. Guess what? Maintenance on your instrument counts as practice, so spend some time throughout the week learning how everything works. 2, you need the right seat. Preferably, you should have a drum throne, and it's height adjustable. Because when you grow up, your posture is going to change. You're going to get taller. You need a seat that can grow with you. We also need a seat mainly because most chairs, like office chairs or dining room chairs, they're not going to be at the right height. When we sit at the instrument for drum set, we want our hips slightly higher than our knees. Sometimes as you learn technique, you're going to want to sit higher or lower. So you need that adjustability. Try to get one that you can, infinitely adjust its height. That way, as you learn new techniques and get better at the instrument, you can adjust without having to go spend money on another throne. Be careful of using like an office chair with arms, because that's going to get in the way of technique. And you don't want the wheels to keep you from moving around when you're trying to practice. So get a drum throne. You don't have to break the bank, but get one that has a lot of adjustment to it. 3 is a music stand. All right, you need a music stand in your practice space. Too many times we put our books on the tom-toms or on the bass drum, and as soon as we start playing, it falls over. All right, so it's a lot of headache, it's a lot of friction, and having a music stand is going to help make that go a lot easier. Plus, you can put your notebook on there, you can put your timer on there, all kinds of stuff. Music stands are great. Again, don't break the bank. Like these Manhassets that we have in school, they're pretty pricey, but you could get the little cheap wire ones. A wire one is okay. It's going to allow you to put one book on there, and you're going to get some practice in. But if you want it to live there and you're going to put a few books on it, they can sell some pretty decent ones that'll stand up for long-term use. All right. 4, you need your lesson books, right? Don't come in from school or from our lesson and drop your lesson bag at the front door, right? Bring that stuff into your practice space. You need to have your books near your instrument. All too often, we're online and we get ready for our lesson, and I'm like, all right, you need your snare drum book. And they go, wait, let me go get it. It's in my bag downstairs. Come home, take the book out of the bag, put it on your music stand next to your instrument. So when you are ready to practice, it's there, right? So lesson books. 5, you need a metronome, especially for drummers. Now, other instruments, you need to practice time as well. We're all responsible for developing our sense of time and our awareness of time, but drummers are the kings and queens of time. So get a metronome. It does a number of things. It will help us track whether or not we're getting better. So if we're playing rudiments and patterns, we can tell if we're getting faster. So that's a really good motivation to keep practicing. I did it 80 today, so tomorrow I'm going to try 90, right? So get a metronome, and there are lots of free metronomes out there if you have an iPad or an Android device, then you could download the free ones. My favorite metronome app is Tempo Advanced by Frozen Ape. It has a lot of timers and it has a lot of functionality. I haven't figured out a way to break it. The biggest challenge with using the metronome is the volume, right? We're playing the drums and it's a loud instrument. So you'll need a way to pump the volume into your ears. So using headphones with the metronome or a stereo equipment. And that brings me to my next thing. You need some kind of playback and recording system. So an iPad with songs on it, or a radio, or a stereo. I use in the studio, I have an interface that's hooked up to my computer that's hooked up to big speakers. You don't have to go that crazy. But any way that you can play music and play along to, that's going to allow you to get better at your instrument. We are learning to play music, and music doesn't come from books, right? Music is heard. So we need to practice the stuff in the books and eventually relate it to real music that we enjoy so we can play. Recording yourself is a big advantage as well. So find a way to record yourself. Use voice memos on your device, or find an old recorder or a phone. Anyway, and to record yourself practicing, and you can watch it back. That's the big key. Sports teams do this all the time. They record their scrimmages, they record their practices, they record their games, and then they take time to watch that stuff and find out what they did well and what they can improve on. If you go back and do the same thing with your playing, you're going to get better in less time, I promise. We also need a timer or 2. In college, one of my professors suggested getting 2 kitchen timers. One for the long form session. All right, I'm going to practice for 10 minutes on hand speed. So he would set 10 minutes. And then the other timer would be 2-minute intervals, right? So 2 minutes, I'm going to play at a slow tempo. When that timer was up, he would switch to 2 minutes at a medium tempo, switch 2 minutes at a fast tempo, etc. And then when the 10-minute timer was up, then he can switch to a different type of practice. I like to use the 4-stage practice method by Mike Johnston, and I'll link in the description. I'll put his videos up there. But they're great at dividing your total practice time up into some chunks that will make you feel like you're making progress throughout the week, right? So I like to use timers so I don't get too deep on one thing or not enough time on one thing. And we have to manage your time. There's a lot of things that we're going to assign over the course of the week for you to practice. And so if you're spending 30 minutes a day only on one exercise, you're not going to feel like you're making much progress. All right. Last thing is your assignment book. Something to write with, right? Now, I write down assignments in your notebook for you to look over the week. Put that with your lesson books on your music stand. That way you can refer back to it. You can write down what you practiced that day. So I double it as a practice log. So today I practiced some vocabulary, I practiced some hand speed and some foot speed, and then I worked out of one of my books that I'm practicing. And so I wrote down the tempos that I did it with and how long I did them. So tomorrow I'll come back, I'll look at what I did, and I'll try to improve on it. Okay? And if there's something that I missed, that's written in my assignment book too, or my log book. That's it, guys. 8 things that you should have in your practice space to get the most out of your practicing and your journey to music. Let me know in the comments below if I'm missing something, or if there's something that you have in your studio that you think is really useful, and share with the community. Have a happy practicing, and we'll see you next time. We're going to talk about more on practicing and getting the most out of your sessions. So see you in lessons next week. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.